Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Welfare Business Podcast. And today we're talking about things we wish we knew before we started a business. So, John, what did you wish you knew before you started a business?
That's a really good question. How far back can we go? Bearing in mind, I've been doing this for 20 years, the best part. Technically, even longer than that, because I was I ran my own company when I was a contractor in London, but that was just a shell company, really. It wasn't, it was just for convenience before IR35 came along. And I only started my business, not through any burning ambition to run my own business, even though I wanted to. It was just a nice to have. I was forced into it in the sense that my wife left me for someone else. I either got to keep the kids and stuff, or I got to keep my job, and the job lasted about 3 seconds. So there I was with a large mortgage, 3 young children, 3 kids under 8, and literally no money coming in at all, not a penny. I've never taken a single penny in benefit from the government or anything else. So I had to do something. So I just started doing what I always wanted to do and knew I was good at, which is writing. I basically went down to the local library. This is all going to be relevant, by the way. I went down to the local library. Remember those kids with books in, those things made out of paper that you read? It wasn't online at the time. And I got the Compass directory, Kompass. And you can go online now, compass.com, and go to your local jurisdiction and get a wealth of information about local businesses. Of course, nobody does that anymore because they'll go online and look on LinkedIn, don't they? But the Compass is a brilliant resource. I laboriously copied down 50 names and addresses of companies, tech companies, because I thought I know how to write. I understand tech. I was a technical person, programmer, and I know I can write decent technical documentation. I cold called 25 of them one rainy Wednesday afternoon and gave up because it was just soul destroying. Not to say that cold calling doesn't work, because it does. It's not a particularly efficient use of your time, but some people like it and they're good at it. And like Benjamin Denny's made a career of it. I'm not temperamentally suited to it. And now I've been diagnosed as autistic. We all know why. So the remaining 25, for 2 of them, for some reason I didn't, but 23 of them I sent out a sales letter, one of which landed on the right desk in front of the right person at the right time. And I got some work out of it that turned out to be about 65k a year for 2 or 3 years, which was a good start. And that gave me the impetus to learn all the stuff I wish I should have learned before I even incorporated my company, really, because it was the important stuff. That's why I say this is pertinent. I was lucky. I maxed out my credit cards, yada, 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 yada. And then I made so much money in a very short period of time. I remember sitting on my sofa one afternoon, just writing checks and paying them all off in one go, and still having a shitload of money left in the bank. That was very, very fortunate. I did a really stupid thing. Don't do what I did. Okay. I'm an outlier in that respect. So there are things I should have known. People talk about motivation and stuff, and there's a really great demotivating quote. And that is, every corpse on Everest was once a highly motivated mountaineer. It's true. I find it very tiresome when people like Tony Robbins and they'll hold up their star pupils as having great success. It's pointless looking at how many and how well people have succeeded and how much they've succeeded, unless you understand what's called the base rate, meaning what do most people get? What normally happens? Yeah? And then when you look at the wider picture, you realize this is no better than chance. These people would likely have succeeded anyway, or this number of people would have succeeded anyway. A little bit like they talk about these cancer cures and stuff, this weird little fruit, and they say so-and-so had stage 4 terminal liver cancer, took this weird little fruit and is now living healthy. That's fine, but to prove the correlation is a different thing. And causality as well is a different thing. And when you look at the base rate of how many people go into spontaneous remission from, say, serious liver cancer, assuming this person didn't have chemo as well, if you realize that people who took this bogus fucking homeopathic treatment statistically fare no better than everybody else, the treatment's bullshit. So anyway, bit of a digression there. So there are various things I wish I'd known and should have known, and every business owner should know before starting a business. Most important one, well, I don't know, they're all important, and it's hard to say which is the most important. The 3 that spring to mind people do not do, which they should. And I'm not just talking about people who started business, I'm talking about people who are several years in and still making these mistakes. The first is they don't treat it seriously enough. They don't treat it as a business. The smarter ones will treat it as a job and maybe take it as seriously as a job. And you often see people saying, when I sit down at my desk, I always make sure I'm wearing a suit and a tie because it puts me in the frame of mind of work. Some people get an office outside the house because they can't work in the house with the distractions. All these things are legitimate and valid if they work for you and they're fine. I have need for none of them. I've got my office here, brilliant, purpose-built, bit of a state. You can't see the bomb site. But if I didn't have it, and I didn't have it for many years, I just had a room in the house, that's fine. When I first started, I was working in a corner of the living room with my desk in the living room with kids running around. That was hard work, and I definitely wouldn't want to go back to that. But if I had to, I would. I didn't treat it like a job. I never did the dressing up thing. I think I tried it for motivation. It just felt uncomfortable sitting at my desk in a suit when I didn't need to, you know. Some people take it semi-seriously and they treat it like a job. But most treat it like, well, a hobby? I don't know. They don't seem to treat it like anything, really.
No, they don't. A side hustle is probably how they treat it. A side hustle rather than a proper business. That being said, they'd argue back. They'd say, well, Jonathan, I've got my logo and I've got my taking it extremely serious.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, isn't it? See, some of them, I get why this is, because I mean, I deal with a lot of women freelancers, for instance. There's a disproportionate number of women freelancers in my circle of contacts and influence. And for many of them, and there's no judgment here, this is just a statement of what is. Many of them actually do treat it like a hobby because that's almost what it is in their mind and in their spouse's mind. Because a common problem, and this isn't just me talking middle-aged white man type stuff. I was on a podcast the other day with a lady, and she's observed the same thing. Many women freelancers, their business, their job, their work is treated as the poor second cousin to their husband. So she has to fit her work in around him and the children. She's still the de facto childcare giver. She's still the de facto entertainments committee manager, and she has to arrange holidays. If the kids are not at school, she's got them. If the kids need anything, she does that. If anyone needs dental appointments, doctor's appointments, school trips, all that stuff comes down to her. His job is ring fenced. He's got to do his job, and her job is just when she can. And many women fucking resent that, and I understand why. And one of my clients in particular, been working with her for 2 years this coming June. She just by saying my husband's great, etc., and he's loving, and there's no problem there. But he doesn't take my business seriously, and I want him to because I resent it and don't want to resent it. So first three things we do: get paid up front, get paid more, and don't work for free. They changed her life within 30 days. Now her salary is probably comparable with his, and certainly at least one of my female clients, she actually earns more than her husband does. And at one point he was actually working for her. You know, that's the difference. They don't really take it seriously enough. You know, you are setting up a business. Now the follow on from that is because they don't treat it as a business and they treat it as, I can do this thing. It could be copywriting, graphic design, website design, beauticians, treatments, interior design. It doesn't matter what they do. PT, it doesn't matter. I do this thing really well. I've been to college, I've got a course, or I've just picked it up along the way, but I'm good at it, and people will pay me money to do it. Great. That's kind of this much of your business. There's this much of your business you've not even fucking thought of. Now, I'm a libertarian, so I don't think there should be government impediments to going into business, although I think somebody somewhere, and I do it, but I'm not an authority of any kind, not in the sense that I can force people to do things, but someone somewhere, maybe teach it in schools. We should have, even if it's only a fucking class they have once a week for the last month of school. If you're going to set up your own business, here's what you need to think about. Your job is just a very small part. You're a technician, you're a practitioner. No insult to anyone intended here, because it applies to me as well. Anyone can do what you do, all right? You're replaceable. Sorry, but you are. Unless you're the best in the world, and only one person can be in like 8 billion of us, someone else can do your job just as well as, if not better than you can. What you need to understand, you need to have it written on your fucking head in letters of fire, stamped there by the devil himself. Not that I'm assuming his gender, of course. You need to understand the most important part of your business is marketing your business and selling your business. If you can't or won't do those, any business you get in is by luck, not judgment. And if you're not marketing, pretty soon you will have no clients, no sales. If you have no clients and no sales, you will have no money. If you have no money, you don't have a business. You have that hobby I was talking about. And here's the thing, it's not, if you're just doing something as a hobby, that's great, because you do a hobby because you enjoy doing it. But if you're treating your business as a hobby, but you're also thinking it's my livelihood, you are going to be in real shit, because you will be demoralized, you will be pissed off, you will be poor, your husband, wife, whatever, your family are never going to respect you for it because you're just playing at it. Here's something I've said frequently, and I remember once I wrote it on LinkedIn, and this lady messaged me, and she's become a very good friend and an excellent client since then, because of probably as much as because of this one thing I said. When she said this was just like an avalanche moment, everything came crashing down, and I realized what a fucking dick I was. All right, moment of self-revelation. That was this. There are people out there right now who are not even half as good at your job as you are, who are being paid more, have better clients, and are selling to them reliably and predictably because they know how to sell what they're doing better than you do. That's painful, isn't it? That hurts. Hey, it's the same for us. We know there are people out there, I could name them, but I'm not going to because I don't want to spend the rest of my life paying off fucking lawsuits. There are people out there I know and I could name who their product is nowhere near as good as ours. They are liars and cheats and charlatans. They're either unable to think critically, or worse, they choose not to, or even worse than that, they do choose to think critically and then lie about it when they come to their conclusions. There are people out there doing that in our space who are far inferior to us, who make 10 times more money than we do. We could make more, we choose not to because we choose ethics and morality before anything else. But there are people out there right now who are better than you are, better than we are, who are better at promoting themselves. Now, I don't think anyone's better at promoting themselves than we are. They promote themselves differently in that they are very flexible in what they're prepared to do. So the analogy is not quite 100%. But, you know, there are people out there now who are not as good copywriters as you are, not as good graphic designers, not as good website designers, not as good coaches, mentors, PTs, or whatever. There are people out there who are worse than you are at their job, and they're being paid more by better people and more reliably and predictably. That fucking stings, man. But it's true. That got this woman, and she joined our elite program, mentoring. She fucking paid, shut up and take my money. And now she's doing great guns. She's a mentor herself. It's almost like we know what we're talking about, Connor.
That revelation is one that goes right for the ego, and it pangs. Pain pangs deep inside. So the first thing you'd do if you were starting over again is you'd take it a bit more seriously.
Yeah, I mean, my particular situation, I did take it seriously because it was a fucking serious situation. I had my money coming in. But I didn't take it particularly business-like, I'll be honest about that, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I had no inkling. I'd been an employee for, how old was I? 37? 30, that's 21 years ago, something like that. I've been an employee since I was 17. I've been in employment for 20 years. First with BT and then with various other companies in the city. Sometime as a contractor in between and then at the end, but that was just disguised employment, really. I was an employee. I had no real conception of having to go out there and get business. So I took it seriously, but only insofar as I knew what I needed to take seriously. I was very fortunate in I don't know how this happened. I do remember what did happen. I don't remember how it came about, but almost accidentally went on a teleseminar. Remember those before video? Teleseminar with a guy called Harlan Kilstein. He makes himself out to be some fucking hotshot copywriter. He's not. Makes himself is an NLP person. I find him frankly nauseating. But to be fair to the guy, this teleseminar kicked off everything, because among the many recommended things he said was he recommended a list of books to read, and one was a Dan Kennedy book. Having read my first Dan Kennedy book, which was No BS Sales Success, I've got the first edition signed by Dan himself. It was that important to me because I took it with me when I went to my day with Dan. That changed everything because Harlan Kilstein, I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. But he put me on to Dan Kennedy, and the rest is history. I've been to seminars and events. I've paid a shitload of money. I did a day with Dan, $18,000. We did an event together for 2 days in Cleveland in March 2017. I'm a big Dan Kennedy fan and student.
So where you're going with this is you're saying you'd find the right people to listen to.
Now, that's another thing, you see. When people start their businesses, they don't know what they don't know, which is a well overused phrase, but it happens to be very accurate. You are unaware of the things you should know and you don't. One of which is you need to be great at marketing and sales, or at least as good as, if not better than, your competitors, which isn't hard because none of them know fucking anything. So what do you do when you want business advice? Here's what I did, and I bet what I did until I discovered Dan Kennedy and thought, shit, this guy talks sense. I was literally in tears when I read that book because it spoke to me. I actually had tears coming out of my eyes. I didn't feel upset because I don't feel it, but I was crying. So I was upset, but didn't feel it, if that makes sense. I'm alexithymic, people. And again, I don't know how this happened, but I joined BNI.
I don't know how it happened. One day I went to sleep and I woke up and I was in the middle of a BNI meeting.
Well, what I meant was, I don't know how I even came across BNI. I was probably Googling how to grow a business. And I went to the local BNI chapter and I joined at 500 quid a year. It wasn't that too much money, really. And I thought, this is great because I'm rubbing shoulders with business owners. These guys must know something because they're in business. There's some real businesses here. Now, looking back, I realised they were clueless. But what did I do? I looked at them adoringly and thought, I'm just going to do what they do because they know what they're doing. I remember one guy in particular, really nice bloke. He was a graphic designer. He had a staff of 5. And he was telling me how in the last recession prior to 2000, and this was about 2000 and what? 2002. So in the previous recession, he said, it was terrible. We had to lay people off and everything else. And I remember saying these words to Mrs. EBG. I said, I'm going to listen to this guy and study him because he's in business. He's been in business for several years. He really must know what he's doing. Looking back, he didn't. He was just another moderately successful business owner. He was, I wouldn't say scraping a living, but he was not, he'd built this up the hard way and it was hard work for him. And he didn't really understand marketing, which is why he was continuing to go to BNI. But that's what I did. When I sit on the podcast and I sit on trainings and I sit in events and I write my emails and I do courses and programs and I do consulting and I sit here and I laugh at people who'd say marketing incest, where you're looking at everyone else copying them and don't realize they're looking back, they're copying you. I was doing the same thing 20 years ago. I'm no better than you are. I'm just 20 years further down the line and I've been willing to think and listen. That's what I did and I was wrong. And the thing is, it's what we all do. Who do we ask for advice? We might ask other business owners. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one. But first, we'll ask friends. We'll ask family, maybe parents. Okay, then we might ask people down the pub. Fat Dave in the corner with his pint of lager and bag of crisps, who works at Tesco's stacking shelves. No disgrace there. Someone's got to do it, and it's the job, and he's making a living. But you're asking him for business advice. What do you think? I think you should get me another bag of crisps. And now, more recently, when I say more recently, in the last 10 years or so, when social media's really taken off, now they'll go to business forums, such as LinkedIn, and ask there. Well, what you're doing there is exactly what I did at BNI. I'm looking at other people in business, assuming they know what they're doing, and asking them about solutions to problems they suffer from too and haven't yet solved. Classic ones. How do you stop being ghosted? How do you avoid being ripped off on your invoices? How do you manage your time? How do you stop time wasters? All these questions that freelancers and other business owners haven't answered. They don't know the answer, but they suffer from the problem. And they talk about it. They talk about it incessantly. And everyone moans and complains, but they don't know how to fix it. What they do not do, apart from a very few smarter ones, is very few of them look around and think, okay, I don't know how to solve this problem. These people don't know how to solve this problem either. That's plain because they're all moaning about it. I wonder who does. No one seems to think, okay, does anybody know who solved this problem? Oh, yeah, John has. And John and Connor, they've done it. Oh, yeah, but they charge money, don't they? Oh, yes, they do, and lots of it. Now, here's the thing. People will not ask the right people for advice, and they really won't ask people when they have to pay for it. And say free advice is costing you a fucking fortune.
Anyone who's listening, do yourself a favour and regularly pay for expertise. It might hurt, it might be painful, but it's the only way to ensure you're actually going to do the fucking work and hear the words that you need to hear. If you're constantly watching endless YouTube videos flicking from book to book, looking for the answer, you're completely unqualified to even judge what the correct answer is. Go to someone who's solved your problems. Pay them handsomely. Pay them until it hurts, because I guarantee your chances of success go way up the minute you invest yourself financially to a point of pain. The mental load it will take away from you sifting through all of this information when, as I just said, you're not even qualified to judge the answer. That time is far better off actually spent doing the fucking work than sifting through sand to get to gold.
I had this conversation yesterday with Mrs. EBG while we were walking the dogs, actually, commenting on the fact that in our free training yesterday and on our list, and historically through clients and people who bought my book, there is, again, a disproportionate number of marketing professionals in there, which means I am the marketer's marketer. And I was saying how almost surreal that is. I'm a little Dan Kennedy type. Now I'm the next generation of Dan Kennedy. I'm not pretending I'm anywhere near as smart as he is, but I'm the next generation as he trundles off that endless conveyor to doom. Here's the thing. I didn't get to this point by accident. You know how I did it? I did it by spending lots of money to go to good seminars. I did it by spending $5,000 on this book by Gary Bencivenga. I spent $18,000 doing a day's consulting with Dan Kennedy, and so on and so forth. I spent the money, and that's how I became world class. And that's how I became the person, the marketer, other marketers who are doing the same job as me, but can't do it as well. They come to me to help them do their job better. They do what I do, but they don't do it as well. This is not an accident. Take it seriously. Treat it as a fucking business. Second thing is, what is the second thing?
Pay for expertise.
The second thing is, don't think you're doing your thing the best of anyone else. By all means, do what you do the best you possibly can, of course. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that's all it is. If I do the best job, they will come. They won't. They'll go to someone else who's not as good as you, but charges more because he knows how to sell himself, knows how to sell herself better than you do. And the third thing is, ask the right people for advice and be prepared to pay for it, because it will pay you back many times over.
And that's a real double-edged sword, because there's business advice that you need, promotion, sales, even basic things such as how do I get my books in order? How do I track these things? Pay for that advice, but don't, and this is a big mistake I see people make once they grok the concept of paying for expertise, is they stop sharpening their own sword. They stop investing in their own craft because they think, oh, there's no point me getting any better. They just stop and they fully focus on the business. And all of a sudden, they become one of these people that we hate, who get really good at sleazy marketing, but have a really shoddy product. And they claim mastery because their ego gets inflated, because now all of a sudden they've got clients coming in the door. And because they've got clients in the door, that must mean I'm really fucking good. Wrong. Mastery is only obtained when you know all the different routes to go down, and you can describe each route and road in excruciating detail, and then pick the best path. Very similar to being wise.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want to say something along those lines. Wisdom is one of the 4 Stoic virtues. Basically, wisdom is the key to the other 3. It's about how to apply the other 3. I would say, and I want people to listen to everything I say before they judge what I'm about to say. I suggest most people avoid coaches until you've reached some level of acceptable to you success. Okay, and I say this for a reason. I'm not a coach, by the way. I'm a mentor. I can coach, and I do. Coaching comes into what I do, but I would never class myself as a coach. And this is why I say it. Mentoring and coaching are 2 very different things. Mentoring is very didactic. You come to me with a problem, I tell you how to fix it, maybe 3 or 4 different ways to fix it, how I fixed it, how others have fixed it. And if I don't know, I can help you find how to fix it. Okay, it's almost like walking alongside you and helping you with the problem, helping you share the burden. A coach is different. A coach assumes you already have the answer inside you, and they are there to ask questions to bring that answer forth. You can't be a mentor in anything unless you've done it yourself. You can't, because you've got no experience. As a coach, a good coach, you should be able to coach people in anything, because it doesn't matter. You don't need to know the subject matter. That's the crucial difference. Now, most business owners, you don't need a coach because you don't have the answers. You do need a mentor. You need someone to say, now sit down, shut up, and here's what we do next. Now, when you've done that yourself and you've reached a level of success and you've got systems in place and you have a business in place, you're getting the right clients, you're selling at the right prices, you're making it happen predictably and reliably, then you might think, okay, I've got all this now. Where do I want to take it from here? What do I actually want? What's my next level? That's when you probably need a coach, because he or she will sit down and say, okay, what do you want out of life? How do you know when your life is perfect? What would that give you? What would that mean for your family life? All the stuff I can do, but really don't bother with, because I'm not a people person. Having said that, I do coach my own coach sometimes. So most of you, when you see someone as a business coach, understand a few things. One, they are not a coach. They're actually calling themselves a coach, but acting in a mentorship role. 2, they're probably not qualified to be in that mentorship role because they've not done what they think what they're trying to teach you to do. What they've tried to do is do it themselves, find out it's very hard, and instead think, I'll teach others to do it instead. All right. Doing the how-to, which I have done, is much harder than teaching the how-to, which is what I do now. And the third thing to understand is they don't understand the difference between coaching and mentoring. which is crucial. Honestly, these people are mostly rank amateurs, which is why we have so many coaches and mentors on our books, because they realize they don't know really what they don't know. And we do.
It's not too dissimilar to a bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. You've probably got some core pillars there, some core skills that are fundamental to holding that bridge up. You've probably laid a lot of bricks on that bridge, but there's still a fair few bricks missing. And for you to try and cross that now, you're just going to fall and fail. You need to find someone who's built the bridge. And not only have they built the bridge, they designed every single brick on that bridge. They are the architect of the bridge. And you go to them and you go, how the fuck do I get my bridge? And they go, you're missing this brick, you're missing this brick. That support pillar's weak. So you need to learn email marketing, copywriting, selling on the phone, yada, yada, yada. Do it in this order. Here's how you do it. Here's the resources. We'll talk in a week. And you go, well, thank you very much.
It's not difficult, is it? Well, it is. Yeah, we're like acrobats. We make it look easy because we're so skilled at it. But it's rewarding. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say on the matter.
It is rewarding. It is really rewarding. Helping someone through building their business is incredibly rewarding. One of our elite guys came to us because he had such fantastic results with some of our cheaper stuff. So he was like, take me to the top, beam me up, Scotty. So we did. We beamed him up into elite. And we were working on the business, and all of a sudden we noticed a bit of discrepancy with some numbers. We was like, you need to go and look into those. There was a bit of a disaster happening underneath his nose. But it's given him the opportunity to rebuild his bridge. And he's now come out the other side of it, maintaining still getting paid up front, when he said every single day he just wanted to let people pay him later just so he felt like he was getting work in the door. But he didn't, because he was talking to us. Yeah, we was like, no, you hold your ground. Every day he was like, oh, I just want to lower the amount I get paid up front. If I have to get paid up front, I'm just going to lower the amount. And we went, no, that's not what you do. You hold your ground. You're in the shit. You need the money. The worst thing you can do right now is start work without the money, because that's how the pit gets even deeper and deeper. He's now on the other side. He's comfortable again. He's got an order book. He's able to focus on his bridge again. And my God, is he happy that he had us around to hold his hand and show him the way. I don't want to blow our own trumpets too much, because he is a very intelligent guy and he knows his shit. I'm just happy that we were there to help him. And I feel fucking fantastic for doing so.
When you're up to your arse in alligators, it's hard to remember your job is to drain the swamp. And he was right up to his arse in alligators. He was, at one point, he was taking his phone to bed and waking up at 2 o'clock to check his bank balance to see if it moved either way. And just one of the simple things I told him was, leave your phone downstairs. So that's an order. There's no negotiation here. He left his phone downstairs. A couple of days later, he says, I'm sleeping a lot better right now.
You bring me back to the first call, because our clients at that level, they tend to have the first call with me so I can really dig into the problem they've got. It was all fires here, fires there. Oh my God, got a million things to do. Connor, let's make a plan. Let's do this. And I went, before we do any of that, are you journaling? And he was like, what do you mean? How the fuck am I going to journal when I've got this going on? I've got that going on. No, I'm not journaling. Of course I'm not. What a stupid fucking question. I went, well, you didn't say that. I'm making it funny now. But he went, yeah, what a stupid fucking question. And I went, you got to look after yourself, mate. And we just went through the basics. Are you going for walks daily just to clear your head? Are you eating? Are you still exercising, or has the exercise regime gone out the window? Are you journaling, sleeping, etc., etc.? We went through all the basics, and before we even spoke about business, we got them sorted. And every call that happened after that John was there for, John was like, how's your sleep? You still leaving your phone outside? It wasn't, how's the bank balance? It wasn't, has this job come in? Has that job come in? It was, no, are you sleeping? Are you meditating? Are you journaling? Are you eating? Are you drinking? Are you exercising? And then we got into the business stuff, because if he was doing any of that, it doesn't matter. He wouldn't have been able to solve any of his problems, but he was only able, not only, but I'd like to think a big reason he got through it, largely unscathed, with arguably a better business on the back end now.
Unarguably, there's not even a comparison. It's a much better business.
Is because, unfortunately, we've dealt with many businesses and business owners in distress, so we knew the exact route to take him down. We knew all the twists and turns, which ones to avoid, where the Vietnamese fake traps are that are going to crunch your leg up, where the alligators are. And that's the power of, listening to the right people.
So business is a serious thing. I think it's an honourable thing. I love my job and like being in business, and I would struggle to be an employee. I'd have to be a van driver or something where I actually didn't speak to anyone. or a light housekeeper or something. But I love running my own business. A bad day in your own business beats a good day at the office any day, and in someone else's. In my opinion, that's just me.
I completely agree.
Kind of winding down a little bit here. Some people who want to run their own businesses, they say, I could never do that. The security of my own, of an employed job as an employee. What they don't understand is there is no security as an employee, because the same activities you need to do as a business owner, marketing, sales, lead generation, bookkeeping, admin, all that kind of stuff, that has to happen in every business. The only difference between you doing it yourself and being an employee is someone else does it. If leads dry up and sales dry up and marketing trails off and no work comes in and you're an employee, often the first you know about it, you get an email saying you've got no job to come into, so stay at home. Or you get to work and the doors are locked. At least as a business owner, those things can still happen, except you have full visibility. You can see if there are no leads coming in. You can see if there's no sales process. You can see if there's no marketing. And you then have the option, you have the choice to do something about it. As an employee, you don't. You just get the work as it comes and you deal with it, or you don't. It's either a busy day at the office or it's a quiet day. As a business owner, you have responsibility for all that stuff, which is terrifying to most, but then liberating because you have the control, neither of which you have as an employee. So, the security of a job, unless you're working for government, which is a different thing entirely, unless you're working for government, the security of a job is illusory. I don't want to live in an illusion. I want to live a real life. I guess we're done. If you want more help from us, best thing to do is email holly@wellfedbusiness.com, and she will put you on to Connor. Maybe have a call with Connor, have a few questions, then perhaps talk to me if you're getting serious about it. No charge, because we're inviting you into our world, not the other way around.
No charge, no fart.
All right, in the meantime, stay safe, stay inside, wash your hands, and please don't shit on your fingers.
And please stop buying endless books, watching endless YouTube videos. Just message Holly. Even 15 minutes on the fucking blower with me. Christ on a bike. That would do you far better. Anyway, goodbye.